What if I told you that nearly 1 in 20 Americans believes the moon landing was faked, and that number is growing? We live in an age where we can video call someone on the other side of the planet, yet millions of people doubt we ever left it. Space conspiracies aren't just harmless fun anymore. They're shaping how people view science, education, and reality itself. But here's the twist. Understanding why people believe these theories teaches us as much about human psychology as astronomy teaches us about the universe. Today, we're going on a journey through both the cosmos and the human mind, exploring the real science behind space exploration, while uncovering the fascinating psychological mechanisms that make conspiracy theories so compelling. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or somewhere in between, this video will change how you think about thinking itself. Let's start with a fundamental question. Why do intelligent, educated people believe things that seem obviously false to others? The answer isn't as simple as calling people gullible or uneducated. In fact, research shows that conspiracy belief has little correlation with intelligence. Instead, it's deeply rooted in how our brains are wired to process information and make sense of a complex, often chaotic world. Our ancestors survived by recognizing patterns. The rustling in the bushes could be wind, or it could be a predator. Those who assumed it was dangerous and acted accordingly were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. We inherited this pattern-seeking tendency, which psychologists call patternicity. When we see connections between events, even random ones, it feels profound and meaningful. This same mechanism that kept our ancestors alive now makes us see conspiracies and coincidences. The moon landing conspiracy is perhaps the most famous space-related conspiracy theory. Despite overwhelming evidence, including hundreds of pounds of moon rocks, thousands of photos, hours of video footage, testimony from hundreds of thousands of NASA employees and contractors, and independent verification from other countries, including the Soviet Union, who had every reason to expose a fake, surveys suggest that between 4 and 6% of Americans believe the landings were staged. Some estimates and certain demographics put that number even higher. So what's really going on here? When we examine the psychology, we find several cognitive mechanisms at play. First, there's the illusion of explanatory depth. People often feel they understand complex systems better than they actually do. Space travel is extraordinarily complex, involving physics, engineering, materials science, and countless other disciplines. When someone doesn't understand how something works, it can feel impossible, and therefore fake. Then there's motivated reasoning, where we process information to reach conclusions we're already emotionally invested in. If someone distrusts government institutions, they're primed to believe those institutions would lie about major achievements. The moon landing happened during the Cold War, a time of genuine government secrecy and propaganda. This historical context provides a grain of truth that conspiracy theories can grow around. Conspiracy theories also fulfill important psychological needs. They provide simple explanations for complex events, giving believers a sense of understanding and control. They create in-groups and out-groups, offering social belonging to those who feel marginalized. Most powerfully, they offer the allure of secret knowledge, making believers feel special, enlightened, and superior to the masses who blindly accept official narratives. But let's talk about the actual evidence for the moon landings, because understanding the real science is crucial. The Apollo program left behind retroreflectors on the lunar surface, special mirrors that reflect laser beams back to Earth. Scientists around the world, including those from countries with no allegiance to the United States, regularly bounce lasers off these reflectors to measure the Earth-Moon distance with incredible precision. This technology has helped us understand that the moon is gradually moving away from Earth at about 3.8 centimeters per year. Unless conspiracy theorists believe that scientists from dozens of countries over 5 decades are all lying in perfect coordination, these retroreflectors prove humans visited the moon. The lunar rocks brought back by Apollo missions have unique characteristics that cannot be replicated on Earth. They contain isotopes and minerals formed in the moon's low-gravity, airless environment. Geologists worldwide have studied these samples, and their composition is distinctly different from any Earth rocks or meteorites. Photography is often cited as evidence of conspiracy, with people pointing to things like missing stars in photos, multiple shadows, and the flag appearing to wave. But each of these has straightforward explanations rooted in physics and photography. Stars don't appear in most moon photos because the lunar surface is so bright that cameras need fast shutter speeds, making dim stars invisible, just like you can't see stars in photos of brightly lit Earth landscapes. Multiple shadows occur because the sun isn't the only light source. The lunar surface itself reflects light, creating secondary illumination. The flag appears to move because it has a horizontal rod holding it out, and the astronauts are disturbing it as they plan it. In the vacuum of space, there's no air resistance to stop the flag's motion, so it keeps moving longer than it would on Earth. These aren't mysterious anomalies. They're exactly what we'd expect from the actual conditions on the moon. The flat Earth theory represents another major space conspiracy that's experienced a shocking resurgence in recent years. Despite thousands of years of scientific evidence and the fact that ancient Greeks calculated Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy, modern flat Earth communities have grown substantially, especially on social media. This conspiracy directly contradicts basic astronomy and physics, yet it persists. Why? Because it hits multiple psychological triggers simultaneously. The flat Earth theory offers a grand, all-encompassing narrative where nearly every institution, scientist, airline pilot, and satellite operator is part of a massive cover-up. This creates a worldview where believers see themselves as heroic truth seekers, standing against overwhelming opposition. The social bonds formed in these communities are incredibly strong, providing belonging and purpose that many people desperately need. From an astronomical perspective, the evidence for a spherical Earth is overwhelming and observable by anyone. Ships disappear over the horizon bottom first, which only makes sense on a curved surface. Different constellations are visible from different latitudes, which wouldn't happen on a flat plane. Time zones exist because different parts of Earth face the sun at different times as our planet rotates. Lunar eclipses always show Earth's round shadow on the moon. We have thousands of photos from space taken by multiple countries and private companies. Gravity, which flat Earth theories can't adequately explain, makes perfect sense when you understand that massive objects attract other objects toward their center of mass, naturally forming spheres. The physics of satellites, which provide our GPS, communications, and weather forecasting, only works in an orbital mechanics system around a spherical Earth. The deeper you examine any flat Earth claim, the more it contradicts not just astronomy, but physics, geology, meteorology, and basic mathematics. Space conspiracies also intersect with the chemtrail theory, where believers claim that the contrails left by aircraft are actually chemical or biological agents deliberately sprayed for sinister purposes. While this isn't strictly a space conspiracy, it connects to broader distrust of aerospace technology and government. The reality is much more mundane but scientifically fascinating. Contrails are condensation trails formed when hot, humid exhaust from jet engines meets the cold, low-pressure air at high altitudes. The water vapor condenses and freezes into ice crystals, creating visible clouds. Whether a contrail forms and how long it persists depends on atmospheric conditions like temperature, humidity, and wind. Some days they disappear quickly, other days they spread and persist, which is entirely consistent with meteorological science. The patterns we see are the result of air traffic routes and atmospheric conditions, not secret spraying programs. One of the most concerning modern space conspiracies claims that satellites don't exist, and that all satellite technology is actually achieved through ground-based systems or high-altitude balloons. This theory is particularly dangerous because satellite technology is integral to modern life. GPS navigation, weather forecasting, global communications, climate monitoring, disaster response, and countless other critical systems depend on satellites. The evidence for satellites is observable to anyone with basic equipment. You can see satellites passing overhead at dawn and dusk when the sun illuminates them against the dark sky. Amateur radio enthusiasts regularly communicate through satellites. You can track satellite positions in real time using publicly available data and verify their locations yourself. The International Space Station is visible to the naked eye and can be observed through telescopes, where you can actually see its structure. Thousands of professional and amateur astronomers worldwide photograph and track satellites constantly. The psychological appeal of satellite denial ties into a broader distrust of technology and institutions. Many people feel overwhelmed by the pace of technological change and alienated from systems they don't understand. Believing satellites are fake simplifies a complex world and provides an explanation for feeling disconnected from modern technology. It also feeds into anti-establishment sentiments, allowing believers to reject the achievements of governments and corporations they distrust. Understanding this psychology doesn't make the conspiracy theory valid, but it helps us understand why otherwise rational people might find it compelling. Climate change denial often intersects with space conspiracies, particularly when it comes to satellite data showing global temperature increases, polar ice melt, and atmospheric changes. Some conspiracy theorists claim that climate data is fabricated or that climate change is a hoax perpetuated by scientists for funding or political control. The real science tells a different story, one confirmed by multiple independent lines of evidence. Satellite measurements show rising global temperatures, but so do ground-based weather stations, ocean buoys, and atmospheric balloons. Arctic and Antarctic ice is measurably decreasing, documented not just by satellites but by submarines, research stations, and indigenous communities living in affected regions. Carbon dioxide levels have increased from about 280 parts per million before the Industrial Revolution to over 420 parts per million today, measured directly at research stations worldwide. These measurements align perfectly with our understanding of physics and chemistry. The psychology behind climate denial is particularly complex because it involves not just conspiracy thinking, but also cognitive dissonance and motivated reasoning. Accepting climate change requires acknowledging that our lifestyle contributes to a problem and that significant changes might be necessary. This creates psychological discomfort that conspiracy theories can relieve by providing alternative explanations that don't require personal change or difficult admissions. The tobacco industry's decades-long campaign to manufacture doubt about smoking's health effects provides a blueprint that some fossil fuel interests have followed, deliberately sowing confusion about climate science. Understanding this historical pattern helps us see how corporate interests can amplify natural human tendencies toward denial when facing uncomfortable truths. The belief that space agencies are hiding evidence of alien life, or UFOs, represents another major category of space conspiracy. While the existence of extraterrestrial life is a legitimate scientific question, conspiracy theories about government cover-ups go far beyond evidence-based speculation. Recent acknowledgments by the U.S. government that some unidentified aerial phenomena remain unexplained have been seized upon by conspiracy theorists as validation, but there's a crucial distinction between unidentified and alien. Scientists actually do search for extraterrestrial life through programs like SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which monitors radio signals from space. The discovery of thousands of exoplanets, some inhabitable zones around their stars, has made the possibility of life elsewhere more scientifically plausible. But plausibility isn't proof, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The psychological appeal of alien conspiracies is multifaceted. They offer wonder and excitement in a world that can feel mundane. They provide explanations for advanced technology that seems almost magical. They create narratives where humanity isn't alone in the universe, which can be comforting or terrifying depending on the story. Many alien conspiracy theories also tap into religious or spiritual frameworks, offering modern mythology that fills similar roles to ancient stories of gods and supernatural beings. The challenge for science communicators is acknowledging the legitimate wonder of the cosmos and the real possibility of extraterrestrial life, while maintaining skepticism about unverified claims. The universe is genuinely amazing without needing to embellish it with unsupported conspiracies. Let's address a crucial point about how conspiracy theories spread in the digital age. Social media algorithms are designed to maximize engagement, and controversial, emotionally charged content generates more clicks, shares, and comments than balanced, nuanced information. This creates an environment where conspiracy theories spread faster than corrections. When someone searches for information about the moon landing, algorithms might recommend increasingly extreme conspiracy content because it generates engagement. This creates filter bubbles where people are exposed primarily to information confirming their existing beliefs, a phenomenon called confirmation bias. The more time someone spends in these bubbles, the more normal conspiracy thinking becomes, and the more alienated they feel from mainstream sources of information. Breaking through these bubbles is incredibly challenging because debunking conspiracy theories can actually backfire. When people feel attacked or mocked for their beliefs, they often double down, becoming more entrenched in their positions. This is called the backfire effect. Effective science communication requires empathy, patience, and understanding of the psychological needs conspiracy theories fulfill. Instead of ridiculing believers, we need to understand what drew them to these theories in the first place. Are they seeking community, meaning, control in an uncertain world? validation for their distrust of institutions that may have genuinely wronged them. Addressing these underlying needs is often more effective than simply presenting facts. Education plays a critical role, but not just education about space science. Media literacy, critical thinking skills, and understanding of how cognitive biases work are equally important. Teaching people to recognize reliable sources, understand the scientific method, identify logical fallacies, and be aware of their own cognitive biases can inoculate against conspiracy thinking. When people understand that their brains naturally seek patterns, resist information that contradicts existing beliefs, and prefer simple explanations to complex ones, they can consciously work against these tendencies. This metacognitive awareness, thinking about thinking, is one of the most powerful tools against misinformation. The role of legitimate skepticism in science cannot be overlooked. Science advances through questioning, testing, and sometimes overturning established ideas. The difference between healthy scientific skepticism and conspiracy thinking is the willingness to follow evidence wherever it leads and change beliefs when better evidence emerges. Scientists who questioned established theories like the steady-state universe or continental drift weren't conspiracy theorists. They were conducting research, gathering evidence, and subjecting their ideas to peer review. When evidence overwhelmingly supported the Big Bang Theory and plate tectonics, the scientific consensus shifted. Conspiracy theorists, by contrast, often dismiss contradictory evidence as part of the conspiracy, creating unfalsifiable beliefs that no amount of evidence can disprove. Trust in institutions has eroded significantly in recent decades, and in some cases, that distrust is justified. Governments have lied to their citizens. Corporations have prioritized profits over public health. Scientists have sometimes been wrong or influenced by bias and funding. These realities provide legitimate grounds for skepticism, but conspiracy theories take justified skepticism and extend it far beyond what evidence supports. The challenge is distinguishing between healthy questioning of authority and unjustified conspiracy thinking. Not every institution is trustworthy, but that doesn't mean every claim of conspiracy is valid. Evaluating claims based on evidence, considering source reliability, and understanding that institutional failure in one area doesn't prove conspiracy in another requires nuanced thinking that conspiracy theories deliberately avoid. The emotional satisfaction of conspiracy belief is genuinely powerful. Humans crave narratives with clear heroes and villains, mysteries with solutions and explanations for why things happen. The real world often doesn't provide these satisfactions. Events are complex, causation is multifaceted, and uncertainty is unavoidable. Conspiracy theories offer emotionally satisfying stories with clear antagonists and simple explanations. They turn random tragedy into purposeful malice, which oddly feels better because it means someone is in control, even if that someone is evil. This reveals something profound about human psychology. We'd sometimes rather believe in a malevolent conspiracy than accept that bad things happen randomly or result from complex systems with no single cause. Space exploration represents one of humanity's greatest achievements, demonstrating what we can accomplish through cooperation, ingenuity, and the pursuit of knowledge. When conspiracy theories undermine faith in these achievements, they don't just distort history, they damage our collective ability to tackle future challenges. Climate change, asteroid detection, space resource utilization, and potential colonization of other worlds all require trust in scientific institutions and space agencies. If significant portions of the population believe these institutions are fundamentally dishonest, building support for necessary space initiatives becomes nearly impossible. This has real-world consequences beyond abstract debates about truth. The intersection of psychology and astronomy reveals something beautiful about the human condition. We're pattern-seeking creatures trying to understand a vast, complex universe using brains that evolved to survive on African savannas. We make mistakes, see patterns that aren't there, and believe things that comfort us. But we're also capable of remarkable feats of rationality, building instruments that extend our senses, developing mathematics that describes reality, and gradually constructing accurate models of the universe despite our cognitive limitations. The scientific method is humanity's greatest tool for overcoming our natural biases and discovering truth. It's not perfect because it's conducted by imperfect humans, but it's self-correcting in ways that conspiracy thinking isn't. For those who found themselves drawn to conspiracy theories, there's no shame in changing your mind when presented with better evidence. In fact, changing beliefs based on evidence is a sign of intellectual strength, not weakness. Many former conspiracy believers have shared their stories of what changed their minds, and common themes emerge. Often, it wasn't being mocked or argued with, but rather someone taking time to explain things patiently, showing rather than telling why the evidence points in a certain direction. Sometimes it was learning about cognitive biases and recognizing those patterns in their own thinking. Sometimes it was the conspiracy community itself becoming too extreme or contradictory, breaking the spell. Whatever the path, returning to evidence-based thinking is always possible. For those trying to help friends or family members who've embraced conspiracy theories, research suggests several effective approaches. Maintain the relationship. Social isolation only drives people deeper into conspiracy communities. Ask questions rather than making statements. Helping someone think through the logical implications of their beliefs is more effective than telling them they're wrong. Focus on common ground. Most people, regardless of beliefs, care about truth, family, and community. Find those shared values and build from there. Be patient. Beliefs that took months or years to develop won't change overnight. Model good thinking by acknowledging when you're wrong, explaining how you evaluate sources, and demonstrating that changing your mind based on evidence is admirable. Share wonder about the real universe. Genuine enthusiasm for actual space science can be infectious. The real universe revealed by astronomy is more spectacular than any conspiracy theory. We live on a rocky planet orbiting a medium-sized star in a galaxy containing hundreds of billions of stars, in a universe with hundreds of billions of galaxies, all of which emerged from an incredibly hot, dense state about 13.8 billion years ago. We're made of atoms forged in the hearts of dying stars. We're riding a planet through space at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour while feeling perfectly still. We've sent robots to other worlds and humans to the moon. We've detected gravitational waves from colliding black holes and taken photographs of supermassive black holes millions of light years away. We've discovered that the universe is not just expanding but accelerating, driven by mysterious dark energy. None of this required conspiracy. It required curiosity, mathematics, technology, and countless people dedicated to understanding reality. Understanding why people believe space conspiracies isn't about feeling superior to believers or dismissing their concerns. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and the common cognitive tendencies we all possess. Every person watching this video has believed something false at some point. We've all fallen for misinformation, misunderstood complex topics, or let our biases guide our thinking. The difference between casual misconception and deep conspiracy belief is often circumstantial. What information we encountered when we were vulnerable, what communities we happened to join, what needs we were trying to fulfill. Approaching this topic with humility and empathy doesn't mean abandoning truth or accepting all beliefs as equally valid. It means recognizing that changing minds requires understanding hearts. As we close, consider this. The same human traits that make us susceptible to conspiracy theories also make us capable of incredible achievements. Our pattern seeking gave us mathematics and music. Our social nature built civilizations and sent us to the moon. Our skepticism, properly channeled, drives scientific progress. Our need for meaning inspired us to explore the cosmos. We're flawed, biased, and often irrational, but we're also curious, creative, and capable of transcending our limitations. The universe doesn't care whether we understand it, but we care. That drive to know, to explore, to understand, that's the same impulse in both the scientist and the conspiracy theorist. The difference is the method, not the motivation. By understanding the psychology behind conspiracy belief while championing the real science of space exploration, we can build bridges between people, restore faith in human achievement, and inspire the next generation to reach for the stars, this time knowing they're really there.